I'm pressing the shutter button for the 32nd time when my phone buzzes against my camera bag. The afternoon light is perfect right now, streaming through the barn doors at golden hour, and I've been lying flat on the hardwood floor for the last 20 minutes to get this exact angle on the centerpiece arrangements. My sister's bridal shower isn't until next Saturday, but the venue coordinator asked if I could photograph the mock setup today so they could adjust the florals before the real thing. No charge for the venue coordination photos, of course. That goes without saying in my family. Everything I do goes without saying. I reach for my phone without standing up. My sister's name fills the screen. A text, not a call. Hey, so the dinner Saturday got moved up. Super intimate thing now. Just close family and Weston's people. Hope that's okay. I sit up slowly. The centerpiece blurs in front of me. Saturday is the engagement dinner. The one I've known about for 4 months. The one I already told my second shooter I wouldn't need her for because I had a family obligation. The one I bought a dress for 2 weeks ago, emerald green, silk, the most expensive thing I've owned since my camera equipment. I type back, "What do you mean close family?" 3 dots appear and disappear 4 times before her reply comes through. Just parents and grandparents on both sides. Weston's family is really traditional. You understand, right? You're the best. Talk soon. I sit in the middle of that barn floor for a long time. The golden light shifts. The centerpiece flowers start to look like something from a funeral. I call my mother on the drive home. She answers on the second ring with the particular brightness in her voice that means she already knows something uncomfortable is coming and has rehearsed her response. "Sweetheart, it's truly just a small dinner, 10 people at the most." I keep my eyes on the road. "Mom, I'm her sister." "I know that, honey. But Weston's family has very specific ideas about these things. His grandmother is flying in from Phoenix and she doesn't do well with large groups." Large groups. I repeat those 2 words out loud because I need to hear how they sound. "Look," my mother continues, and I can hear the shift into the tone she uses when she wants a conversation to end. "You know how your sister gets when people push back on her decisions. Let's not turn this into a whole thing. She'll make it up to you." I hang up before she can hear whatever sound is threatening to come out of my throat. Here is what I know about my last 4 months. I photographed their entire engagement session 7 hours across 2 locations, including driving 40 minutes each way, editing 312 final images, and delivering a custom album that my sister posted about on Instagram with the caption, "Blessed without tagging my account or mentioning my name." I helped address and mail 147 save the dates because my sister's wrist hurt. I spent a Sunday afternoon sourcing specific lavender ribbon because the ivory ribbon the bridal shop sent wasn't the right shade. I paid a $1,400 non-refundable deposit for the private dining room where tonight's rehearsal dinner would eventually be held because they needed someone with a credit card on file quickly, and my sister's card had been declined twice. That deposit. I haven't been asked about reimbursement once. I'm still thinking about the deposit when I pull into my apartment complex and find a DM notification on Instagram. My cousin, who lives 2 states away, asking if I'd seen the photos from the engagement dinner venue preview. My sister had posted stories. I click through. Pale pink tablecloths, crystal champagne flutes, a seating chart printed on cardstock, resting on an easel near the entrance. I zoom in. 10 names. Her parents. His parents, his grandparents, her grandparents. My name is not there, but there, in the bottom corner of the seating chart, in the same elegant font I recognize because I recommended the calligrapher to my sister 6 weeks ago, is the name of Weston's college roommate. And next to it, his girlfriend, whom my sister has met exactly once. I close the app. I open my laptop. I go to a website I've had bookmarked for 2 years, a small inn on the Georgia coast, Tybee Island. The kind of place I've described to my friends as somewhere I'll go someday when things slow down. There's a room available starting Friday. A private balcony overlooking the water. 3 nights, then a 4th, then a 5th available if I want it. The price is more than I've spent on a vacation in the past 3 years combined, which tells you something about the past 3 years of my life. My cursor sits over the booking button for exactly 45 seconds. Then I click it. 30 minutes later, I post a photo I've had saved in my camera roll since August, a picture of my feet on a wooden dock at sunset that I took at a friend's lake house, the light catching the water in a way that made me stop and capture it even though I was just there for a birthday weekend. I post it with a single line, starting the weekend early. Some doors open when you stop standing in front of the wrong ones. I don't announce where I'm going. I don't explain. I just pack. The drive to Taibi is 4 hours from my apartment, and I spend the first 2 of them waiting for the guilt to arrive. It's always arrived before the familiar weight that settles in my chest whenever I've put myself first in any small way. The voice that sounds like my mother asking if I've thought about how this looks, asking if I understand how important this time is for my sister, asking if I realize that being difficult now could affect our relationship for years. I wait for it on the highway with the windows down and my old college playlist filling the car. It doesn't come. What comes instead is a strange, floating lightness. Something I don't immediately recognize because I haven't felt it in long enough that it takes me 20 miles to identify it. Relief. The inn is exactly what the photos promised and somehow more. The owner, a woman in her 60s who introduces herself as Miss Dottie, hands me a key attached to a driftwood keychain and points me toward the outdoor stairs. The room smells like salt and cedar. The balcony door sticks slightly, the way old beach doors do, and when it finally swings open and the evening air comes through, I stand in the doorway and breathe for what feels like the first time all week. My phone shows 11 missed calls before I've finished unpacking. My mother, 3 times. My father, twice. My sister, 4 times. A number I don't recognize, which turns out to be Weston's mother, which is how I understand that whatever is happening has escalated past a simple family disagreement into something requiring outside reinforcement. I put the phone in the nightstand drawer and go find somewhere to eat oysters. The texts come in waves. I read them the next morning over coffee on the balcony, the way you might review a weather report for a storm that passed while you were sleeping. My mother's messages begin with "please call me" and progress through "I'm worried about you" and settle into a long paragraph about how my sister is under enormous pressure right now, and how the people who love her are supposed to started make things easier, not harder. My sister's messages start with, "I thought you understood," and move quickly into, "I can't believe you're doing this right now," and end with a wall of text about how I've always had a way of making her milestones about myself, which is so precisely backwards that I read it 3 times just to make sure I'm understanding it correctly. My father sends one message. It says, "This is not the time for drama." Then there's a voicemail from my Aunt Renata, my mother's older sister, who lives in Savannah and has a reputation in our family for saying exactly what she means, without softening it for anyone's comfort. "I met Monroe's situation was different," she says in the recording, "but I knew something like this would happen eventually. I've been watching you run yourself ragged for that family for years, baby. You call me when you're ready to talk. I'm 20 minutes from where you are." I listen to that voicemail twice. Then I call her back. She arrives at the inn at noon, with a paper bag from a bakery downtown, and sits across from me at the small iron table on my balcony, like she's been expecting this lunch for a long time. "How long has this been going on?" she asks, tearing a piece of croissant without looking up. I think about it honestly. The seating chart is recent, but the pattern? I pull up my banking app. Here. I transferred $800 to my sister 14 months ago when she had a gap between jobs and her car insurance was due. I haven't been paid back. Here I scroll further $312 to a calligrapher whose work my sister used for 20 personal stationery items and never offered to split the invoice. And here's the engagement shoot invoice I never sent, because it felt wrong to charge my own sister, which means I donated approximately 32 hours of professional work at my current market rate, which my aunt does not need to see the total of but which I have calculated. My aunt sets her coffee cup down. She is quiet for a moment. Then she says, "And they didn't invite you to the dinner." "And they didn't invite you to the dinner," I repeat back, because saying it out loud still makes something shift inside my chest. She nods the slow nod of someone who has suspected something for years and has just been handed the confirmation. "Your grandmother would have set this straight in about 15 minutes, she says. "Since she's not here to do it, it falls to me." I wasn't expecting the laugh that comes out of me. It's a real one, sudden and startling, and it echoes off the water below the balcony, and I realize I haven't laughed like that in a while. The dinner has already happened by the time I check my messages that afternoon. My cousin sends me updates in real time without me asking, the way cousins do when they know something is important. The update that arrives at 7:48 p.m. is the one that makes me set my book down. "Your sister announced at dinner that she's decided the wedding photos will be handled by a professional she found on a vendor recommendation site. Said she didn't want to put that kind of pressure on you." Weston's mom looked confused. "I think she thought you'd been told months ago." I read that message 3 times. The professional photographs. The professional she found. The wedding for which I had already turned down 2 paid jobs on the same weekend. The wedding for which I had already purchased a second camera body specifically for the indoor lighting conditions at the venue, using money from my equipment fund. I call the front desk and ask about extending my stay through Monday. Of course, Miss Dottie says, like she was expecting me to ask. The next morning, I drive into Savannah and spend 4 hours walking through streets I've always meant to visit when I had time. I photograph things for myself: an iron gate half covered in wisteria, a church steeple catching the 9 a.m. light, the hands of an old man reading a newspaper on a bench in Forsyth Park. I don't post any of it. I don't check my metrics. I don't think about whether the light is right for an Instagram story or whether the composition would perform well. I photograph them because they're beautiful and because I want to, and because those are, I'm realizing, reasons I've forgotten were enough. My aunt texts me a photo mid-morning. It's a screenshot of my sister's Instagram story, a soft focus image of the engagement dinner table, with the caption, "An intimate evening with the people who matter most," surrounded by heart emojis. Below it, my aunt has written 3 words. Just so you know. I stare at the photo for a long time. Then I put my phone in my bag and keep walking. There's a photography gallery on Jones Street with a show I walk into by accident, thinking it's a coffee shop. The photographer is there in person, a woman maybe 10 years older than me, and when she sees me studying the series of portraits near the back, she comes over and we talk for 40 minutes about shooting in natural light and the specific quality of afternoon sun on the Georgia coast. She asks to see my work. I pull up my portfolio on my phone and watch her face carefully while she scrolls. "You're extremely good," she says, and it sounds like a statement of fact rather than a compliment. "Are you represented?" "No," I say. I pause, looking for the right word, occupied. She gives me her card. She knows someone in Charleston who runs a boutique agency representing editorial and fine art photographers. She thinks I should reach out. She writes a name on the back of the card in ballpoint pen. I hold that card on the drive back to the inn and think about all the Saturday afternoons I spent addressing envelopes and sourcing lavender ribbon. By Sunday, my phone has accumulated 43 notifications. I read them all sitting on the beach with my shoes off, the way you might finally open a stack of mail you've been avoiding. My mother has moved through multiple emotional registers and landed on quietly disappointed, which is her most effective setting. My sister has sent a voice memo that I listened to once, hearing the wobble in her voice that I've always been unable to ignore, the sound that has historically made me drop whatever I was doing and come running. My father has sent a formal text that uses the phrase, "when you're ready to act like part of this family," which tells me everything about where the conversation has been in the house this weekend. Then there's a message from Weston's mother. "I didn't know you wouldn't be there," it says. "I assumed you were photographing the dinner. Your sister showed me your engagement work. It's beautiful. I'm sorry for any confusion on our end." I read that one 3 times too, but for different reasons. I fly home Monday morning and spend the afternoon making a list. Not an angry list and not a sad one, a clear one. I write down every financial contribution I've made to my sister's wedding process with dates and amounts. I write down every professional service I've provided at no charge with estimated market value. I write down what I need to move forward in a way that is honest and sustainable for both of us. Then I text my sister and ask if she can meet me Thursday at the coffee place near the farmer's market, the neutral one, not our parents' kitchen table where the dynamics have been set in concrete for 25 years. She brings our mother. I expected this and I am not rattled by it. They're already seated when I arrive, and I recognize the tableau immediately: my mother's careful posture, my sister's expression hovering between defensive and apologetic, the coffee cups arranged like props. I set my bag down, and I don't apologize for being 30 seconds late. "You look different," my mother says, which is the first thing she said to Monroe, and I note it with a private recognition. "I feel different," I say, which is the honest answer. My sister opens her mouth and I gently hold up one finger. I have a few things I want to say first, and I'll keep it short. I open my notebook. I don't read from it theatrically, I just use it as a reference, the way you'd use notes in a professional meeting. "On March 14th last year, I transferred $800 to cover your car insurance during your gap month. That was 15 months ago." I bring my eyes up from the notebook. "That's still outstanding." My sister starts to speak. "I'm not finished. In September, I photographed your entire engagement session. 7 hours. plus editing and album delivery. My current rate for that package is $2,200. I did it as a gift, which I don't regret, but I want it acknowledged as a gift, not as an obligation that was owed. My mother reaches across the table. I move my hand gently away, not unkindly. There's one more thing. I paid a $1,400 deposit for the rehearsal dinner venue 9 weeks ago. I haven't been reimbursed, and I haven't been asked about it. Silence. The coffee shop hums around us with its ordinary noise. And last week, my sister says quietly, "You left." I nod. I did. She wipes the corner of her eye with her thumb in the quick, subtle way she's done since she was 12. "I didn't think you'd care that much about the dinner. You've never liked that kind of thing." "That's not actually true," I say. "I've accepted every invitation I've ever been given. I've declined 0. I've left early twice in the last 8 years, both times for work emergencies." She looks at the table. I know that." My mother clears her throat. "The important thing is that we move forward as a family." "I agree," I say. "And here's what that looks like for me." I turn to the next page in my notebook. I need acknowledgement from both of you that my time and professional work have value. I need advance notice for family events, a minimum of 3 weeks. I need repayment of the venue deposit within 60 days, and a repayment plan for the loan within 6 months. Going forward, any photography work I do for the family will be billed at 50% of my standard rate. That's my family discount, and it's a generous one. And I need my no to be heard without a campaign to change my mind. My sister is quiet for a long time. Then she says, "The wedding photos." I give her a moment. "I already told them I wanted someone else," she says. "I thought I was protecting you." "I know what you told yourself," I say. "But I turned down 2 paid jobs on your wedding weekend. I bought a new camera body for your venue's lighting." Her face changes in a way that's hard to watch and also necessary. "Monroe," she stops herself. I'm sorry." She looks genuinely uncertain of my name for a moment, which is disorienting for us both. You. I'm sorry." My mother reaches into her purse and pulls out her checkbook, which she has apparently brought with her. The gesture is so direct that it surprises me, and I feel, unexpectedly, something loosen in my chest. She writes the check slowly and slides it across the table. "That's the deposit," she says. "Your father and I will handle it." She pauses. "He wanted to be here. I told him you needed to do this without him making it about himself." I pick up the check. "Thank you." "There's something else," I say. "I've accepted a 6-month contract with an editorial agency out of Charleston. I start in 5 weeks. I'll be relocating." My sister's head comes up fast. "You're leaving?" "I'm taking an opportunity," I say, "the same way you've always been encouraged to do." My mother looks at me for a long moment, and something in her expression shifts in a way I haven't seen before. It looks like recognition, maybe even respect. "That's a good agency," she says quietly. "Your aunt told me you met someone who knew them." "I did," I say. "I met a lot of interesting people this week." My sister reaches across the table and covers my hand with hers. Not the way our mother does, asking for reassurance, but the way you touch something you've realized you almost lost. "I've been a really bad sister," she says. "Not just this. For a long time." I look at her hand on mine. I've needed to hear that for a while. We stay at the coffee shop for another hour. We don't solve everything, that's not how families work, and I'm done pretending it is. But we say the true things out loud, which is where everything has to start. On the drive home, my aunt calls. I answer on the Bluetooth. "Well," she says. "I said everything I needed to say," I tell her. And I think they heard it. She makes a satisfied sound. "Good. Now go pack. Charleston is waiting on you." 6 months later, I'm standing in a converted warehouse studio on the Upper Peninsula of Charleston, reviewing proofs from a 3-day editorial shoot for a regional magazine's annual design issue. And I can tell you that the light in this city at 4 in the afternoon is something I'll spend years trying to fully understand. The studio has floor-to-ceiling windows on the north wall, and a kind of diffused clarity that makes everything look exactly like itself, which is the truest thing I can say about good light. My phone buzzes with a photo from my sister. It's a test print of a 6x4 she's blown up from the engagement shoot, hung in their new apartment hallway. She's written, "I look at this every day. Thank you for it. I mean it this time." I smile at my phone in the empty studio and don't feel the need to respond immediately. That's new too. The financial things resolve themselves the way they resolve when you actually name them. The deposit came back in a check from my parents. The loan repayment is happening in 4 installments, on schedule. My sister paid my 50% rate for one additional photo service without being reminded and sent the invoice before I had to ask, which is progress. I didn't know I was waiting for until it happened. My mother calls every Sunday now. The calls are shorter than they used to be and more honest than they've ever been. Last week she said something I've been turning over since. I think I taught both of you that taking care of people was how you earned your place in this family. I'm sorry I didn't notice sooner who was carrying more of that weight. I told her I appreciated her saying it. I meant it. My Aunt Renata and I have dinner every few weeks, alternating between Savannah and Charleston. She tells stories about our grandmother that I've never heard before, stories about a woman who apparently had very clear opinions about her own worth and was not shy about communicating them. I wish I'd known her as an adult. I think we would have had a lot to talk about. The card from the gallery in Savannah is pinned to the corkboard above my desk. The agency contact it pointed me toward became the connection that became this contract, which has become the foundation of a career that finally looks like the one I always said I wanted but kept postponing because something or someone more important needed me first. I understand now that the postponing was a choice, not a virtuous one. Just a habit, dressed up as loyalty. I've started teaching a Saturday workshop for emerging photographers at the studio, a 4-hour session on reading natural light. There's a woman in the current cohort, 26, incredibly talented, who told me last week that she keeps saying yes to every family request because she doesn't want to be seen as selfish. I recognized her immediately, the way you recognize a version of yourself you've finally grown past. I told her what I've learned to be true, which is this: the people who love you should be able to say so without needing something from you first. Generosity is a gift. It's only a gift when it's chosen freely. When it's expected, it's labor. And you should at least be invited to the party. She laughed. Then she looked serious. Then she wrote it down. My sister's wedding is in 3 months. My name is on the invitation in her handwriting, which she mentioned when she sent it casually, without making a big deal of it, the way you mention things that should have always been obvious. I RSVP'd yes. I booked a hotel room in my hometown, 3 blocks from the venue. Check out the morning after the reception. I haven't offered to photograph it. She hasn't asked me to. She hired someone from the vendor recommendation site, a woman whose work I looked up and quietly thought was quite good, which I told my sister when she sent me the link with a slightly anxious question mark attached. She's great, I texted back. You made a good choice. And I meant that too, not with any bitterness, but with the particular lightness of a person who knows the difference between giving because you love someone and giving because you're afraid of what happens if you don't. This morning I opened the balcony doors of my apartment here, 3 blocks from the water, and stood in the early light with my coffee and thought about that barn on a different afternoon, the golden hour, the centerpiece I spent 40 minutes photographing for free, the buzz of a phone against a camera bag. I used to think the story began there, with what was taken from me, but I've learned enough by now to know that every story really begins the moment you decide you're worth the telling.